new information is coming out about Kathy Hochul and whether or not she has had a hand in not allowing that appeal to go through vis-a-vis Letitia James and Donald Trump. So you'll recall, of course, he was fined for some nearly $500 million. That's the judgment against him, thanks to Judge Arthur Angoran. I don't know, I can never say his name. Angora, it reminds me of, remember, Bewitched? Angora was the mother-in-law. Anyway, it was pretty darn clear how the justices were feeling. I played a whole bunch of sound bites from the actual courtroom for you, and it was very evident. Even the New York Times, even MSNBC, all admitted that the judges were going to vote against Letitia in favor of Donald Trump because, well, here, Judith Vale, who was arguing Letitia's case before the appellate court for her, they tend to get smarter attorneys at the appellate level, well, she couldn't even get her first few words out before they shut her down, remember?
May it please the court, Judith Vale for the New York Attorney General's office. All of the defendants repeatedly violated—
Ms. Vale, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence, where the supposed wrongdoer advised the supposed victim through written disclaimers to conduct its own due diligence and to draw its own conclusions, where the alleged misrepresentation almost entirely concerned inherently subjective valuations of properties and businesses.
Yes.
And where the victim never complained about any fraud in the transactional losses from it. Because I've gone through the cases which you've cited, and all of them always involved the consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Well, several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
Right, and so that's why MSNBC came out and said Letitia James's massive Trump civil fraud victory in question after appellate argument. It was clear. New York Times was saying the same thing. Everybody was saying the same thing. Well, now what they're saying, guys, is that White House sources back in April are claiming that Hochul told Trump, quote unquote, I control the judges. Imagine that. Well, she appointed the woman who's in charge, of the whole appellate court there. You see next to her in this picture if you're watching on YouTube Live. Anyway, she said, I control the judges. This is allegedly something that she said to him in a February meeting at the Oval Office. Now, Hochul is denying this, but the White House is sticking by the story. They're saying that she said she controls the judges, and that was kind of a threat. She was trying to make it clear to him that he needed to stay out of the congestion pricing argument that he was making against her in New York. And if he continued to do that, that she was going to continue to make it very clear he was going to owe somehow $500 million. And they are saying that this is a form of extortion, that she plays dirty, dirty politics. Well, she's the one who told us, right? She's a street fighter from Buffalo. Hey, if you look at this story right here, again, I'm citing the New York Post, who did the initial reporting on this. This is the woman who is presiding over the court. She was put there by one Kathy Hochul. Her name is Diane Renwick, and what's being alleged is she's a little too tight with Kathy, and that thus Kathy has her on speed dial and is controlling effectively what happens on this case. It is taking an enormously long period of time. We've talked about it before. I mean, typically you would get a decision in 30 days, and now it's taking like over 300 days. So what is going on? I mean, why wouldn't they? Again, if you go back and you listen to the sound, and I played the entire hearing basically for you, and every time you heard the justices, they were tearing Letitia James's attorney, Judith Hale, arguing for the state. They were tearing her apart. So it didn't look like they had one single leg to stand on. And now here we are, a long case might take 140 days. Normally it's like 30 days, and we're going at past 300 days. So one source told the New York Post, quote, the presiding justice, that would be, I guess, the Diane woman that they're talking about right here, put in place by one Kathy Hochul, the presiding justice is a political animal. I mean, she just is. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there was some political angle to it. Well, I wouldn't be one bit surprised either now, would you? Would you? No, of course not, because these are political people. The street fighter, right? From Buffalo. I mean, it was crazy what went down. And to talk about $500 million with this guy, clearly he had, shall we say, a political vendetta a massive political vendetta. Big story that we're following today. Did you guys see this on Melania Trump? Melania Trump means business. Melania Trump isn't fooling around. And Melania Trump has made it clear that you're not going to trash her reputation for your own political gain or somebody else's humor. So apparently, Biden's son, Hunter, went on to some podcast and said a whole bunch of stuff and talked a whole bunch of smack. And she wasn't having it. Not one bit. And so she just issued a letter saying, I'm going to sue you, buddy, for $1 billion. Now, Hunter doesn't really have $1 billion, shall we say. So I would say that she has the ability to make his life a living HELL. He was asked about this back on the same program where he made these wacko allegations. And I want you to hear his response. Let's take a look at it together.
Ladies and gentlemen, the day of presidential litigation has arrived. It's lawsuit time. In my hand is a legal demand letter addressed to Mr. Hunter Biden from the First Lady of the United States, demanding a retraction of Channel 5's video called Hunter Biden Returns, in which Mr. Biden here makes some speculative comments about the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein, Melania Trump, and Donald Trump. I've got $1 billion document in my hands because Mrs. Trump is seeking $1 billion in damages if we don't take the video down, and if Hunter here doesn't issue a formal apology to Mrs. Trump. So now we're here maybe to give you the platform to apologize to the First Lady for your statements that you made about her possible connection to Jeffrey Epstein.
That. That's not going to happen.
Oh, wow. Lovely. He's got such a gigantic vocabulary that he has to resort to that. I think that same interview had like a whole bunch of those bombs all over the place, right? He just F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb. Again, not a vast vocabulary on the likes of Hunter Biden. Not a vast, shall we say, set of intelligence on that man's head. But part of his stupidity is that he's done stupid things with his dad, I believe, along the way. I mean, the Ukraine stuff certainly sounds super, super sketchy, right? We've been through all that. And now he's like doubling down on this here, which is a little bit odd. The allegations that he's making are really pretty wacky, and they're based on some reporter that, traffics in hearsay. And she's out for as she should be. You know what? There's no reason any of this should be happening. She wound up going after the Daily Beast. And so they took the story down. Editors know after the story was published, the Beast received a letter from First Lady Melania Trump's attorney challenging the headline and framing of the article. After reviewing the matter, the Beast has taken down the article and apologizes for any confusion or misunderstanding. In other words, if you get fake news, it's fake news, and you can't use that to try and go after her, even though she is the First Lady. So, they would say, oh, she's a public person, et cetera. And she's like, no, it doesn't matter. And she's winning this, by the way. She's winning this because you can't just deliberately publish lies on people, and especially the kind of lies that they're trying to get into. Anyway, Carville as well wound up, here we go, taking down the podcast episode. If you see, he writes an apology as well. In last week's podcast episode, we spoke with Judge Legum. After the episode, received a letter from Melania Trump's lawyer. He took issue with the title of one of our YouTube videos from that episode and a couple of comments I made about the First Lady. We took a look at what they complained about, and we took down the video and we edited out those comments from the episode. I also take back these statements and apologize. Good, buddy. You know what? I like this. I like that a woman is standing up for herself to these bozos that want to traffic in smut, frankly, and misinformation and, hurt someone's reputation, frankly, as a wife and mother in the meantime. So, she's threatening to sue Hunter, good, for $1 billion he doesn't have, but she'll make his life hell because he won't have the money to deal with the legal bills, no matter how many paintings he tries to sell. She forced the Daily Beast to retract its lies. And she got the Democratic op there, James Carville, to apologize and take down the episode. Because, again, you just can't go out on a limb and say things about people that are not right. And I think it's important, regardless of whether you're a public person, a private person, however you want to think about this, it's not fair. It's not fair to her family, to do that all just for your own political gain. So she means business, and these guys are going to have to listen, including Hunter Biden, or, fork over some of that money if he still has any left, because, he apparently has spent it on some interesting things. And by the way, that's not me speculating, right? They have all that information. That's all wide out in the open. I just try and keep it clean for the kids, shall we say.